Well, hey guys, welcome to part 2 of this video. I knew that the video I made would get some attention, but I was overwhelmed by the amount of support and the viewership and the generally positive feedback I got from you guys. So I really appreciate that. As promised in the last video, in this video, we're going to go over some different loadouts. So we're not just going to talk about my kit, and we're also not just going to do it in a vacuum. There's going to be a lot of vlog style portions of this video where not only am I showing you, my loadout and some other guys' loadouts, but you're also going to see the stuff in use, right? So there might be some portions with ramblings, walking about, just me and my friends hanging out. So this video is going to be a little bit more of an amalgamation and less of a lecture than the last video was. So that is kind of the roadmap for this video. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that when we're talking about kit, we're now talking about application, right? So in the last video, I talked about the tool in a way that was, I want to say nebulous. Nebulous might not be the right word, but for lack of a better term, it was very agnostic to use case, right? I mostly talked about what the systems were capable and kind of helped you guys sort of understand their roles. But in this video, we're going to talk more about use case, right? Because use case drives tool selection. In this case, the kit I'm wearing. So I might give you some information that is kind of niche or more relevant to my use case. And if that helps you understand stuff, cool. If you disagree with me, I'm sure you guys are going to let me know in the comments. So we're going to start it off with obviously what I'm wearing, which is my plate carrier, ballistic helmet. I don't have a belt on, or my carbine is, one of my carbines is up on the rack over there. I intentionally removed a lot of stuff just to kind of help you guys sort of just understand how this system all works. Ooh, drop my mic. That's not a good place for that. That is somewhere better. On the molly. Perfect. There we go. I removed a lot of stuff that I frankly would feel would be either a distraction or maybe was something I didn't want published on the internet. So what is my use case when it comes to wearing any type of kit like this? So I do think that owning gear like, body armor and a ballistic helmet and night vision, which obviously isn't on there right now. I talked about it a little bit in the first video. I think those are just part of being a prepared citizen, part of being an American, and, just within my right to do so, right? So anytime we're using tools like this, we want to make sure that we have them rooted in reality and responsible training and ethics that go along with any type of tools like firearms, plate carriers, tactical gear. So I don't just own these things for the sake of owning them. I think that's something we see a lot in the preparedness industry is guys will own this and they'll only wear it to a, like a flat range or around their house, and they never really vet their setups. And, they're kind of prone to restless kit syndrome, right? How did I go about, testing and making sure I like this configuration? I do a lot of training exercises with my groups of guys that are what we call scenario based, right? So spending time in something that, hey, this is the scenario you're working within for a protracted amount of time, right? It's not just going to the gun range and shooting some different drills. It's going to be within these parameters. And if you ever come to take a Mojave Repeater class, we use scenario-based training on the training days as well, right? So scenario-based training, it's not just something that, LARPers do. It's something that the military uses all the time in terms of developing people with different skill sets and with constant refinement of their skills and abilities. So the other silo or vertical that exists that I have access to because I'm not in the military, I'm not in law enforcement, is a lot of my training time is spent out at the Direct Action Resource Center with their TUSC curriculum. Chances are, if you're here, you've probably heard of them. If not, go check them out. There's some great info on their website, and there's some videos online of guys doing after action reports of the TUSC curriculum. It's not just one class anymore, it's quite a few classes. And the class where I've certainly refined a lot of, my decisions about the way this kit is all organized is at their CQB TUSC class. Now, I'm not going to talk about the class itself. I'm not going to talk about what I learned, but what I will say is that it's extremely realistic for civilians who are wanting to maintain a defensive posture in and around structures, right? Structures being houses, buildings, office spaces. It's a great class, and it drove a lot of the decision-making about this. Now, I'm going to continue rambling, and I know this might come as a little bit of a disappointment, especially because of the subject of this video, but I actually don't use comms very much in that role. You're going to hear me talk about that a lot when I talk about my other guys' setups with their plate carriers. But comms is frankly something that, especially in the role I'm in which, if we're doing any type of CQB environment, it's typically a small group of guys, single element. We may separate for, specific tasks like different security postures, but for the most part, I'm not going to need comms. So this is all on here, right? I'm outfitted for that role, but I actually don't use this very much in a CQB environment, right? I think the big part of that is the skills and disciplines I've learned at different classes, but yeah, I'm not going to use comms very much, but they exist on this kit. And I know this kit is probably what most people think about when they consider any type of MANET application. So why do we see people in like military and law enforcement using kits like this? Well, usually it's because if they're any type of in an assaulter or direct action role, they will oftentimes have the ability to have more than one assault team, right? Which means we're now having different elements maneuvering around each other inside of the battle space. And so having the ability to maintain situational awareness with things that are passive, right? Like position, location information, or maybe helmet mounted cameras without necessarily requiring active communication where guys are like, hey, where are you? I need to know, your position. That's where you're going to see a lot more of the MANET radios used and why you see them a lot in that application. Also, they're often getting paired with what are called ISR assets, right? So some type of drone, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, which is really just short form for bird's eye view, right? So whether it's with conventional cameras or thermal imaging or night vision, typically those sensors can be integrated and viewable on the ground forces as well. So that's why you see a lot of those use cases inside of the military and law enforcement application. So yeah, we'll jump right into it. Now that I've given you guys all that context, we're gonna just go head down and talk about my kit, and then we'll change over to another kit of mine, and then we'll kind of finish the rest of this video, which is where you're gonna see a lot of that vlog style information. So starting from the top, I have a Ops Core Fast SF with the Ops Core amps on them. I've owned this helmet for, I want to say, going on about 6 years now at this point. It's been a great setup. I really love the Ops Core products. I think they do an amazing job in terms of quality, and really like the sound quality and the connectivity I get with it, right? So Ops Core amps, probably have seen those before. And then coming down here, they are coming into a Comm Gear Supply PTT. Now, this PTT is slightly different from the ones I showed you in the last video. This one has a modular connector on it. We're going to get into that in a second after I pull this helmet off, but the Comm Gear Supply PTT is sitting on an Axle Advanced comm wing, right, which comes off of the MOLLE where my EUD is, and it's a piece of Tigris where I can actually mount my PTT, and I just get a little bit of standoff from the plate carrier itself. So I'm going to pull this helmet off, throw a hat on because I didn't do my hair. I'm sure I got helmet hair. All right, got the helmet pulled off, and I do have helmet hair, so I'm going to leave the hat on. Starting with the carrier itself, this is a Spiritus Systems LV-119 in Wolf Gray. All the Spiritus products you're going to see in this video are actually purchased by myself or the other guys. Spiritus does not need my help selling product. They didn't sponsor this video. It just is kind of happenstance that it's all Spiritus products in this video. So the LV-119, I know the 120 just came out. I really like this one. This one has served me well. I didn't really have a reason to upgrade, so I got the LV-119, and then the shoulder pads I use are the Axle Advanced shoulder pads. Extremely comfortable. I like them. I am very scrupulous in how I arrange my kit. This kit has been more or less the same for the last few years, and so tiny changes here and there, but for the most part, my kit has looked like this, and been very comfortable with the Axle Advanced shoulder pads. So this is a Juggernaut mount for my Samsung S23, which is my EUD of choice. I really like the S23. There's other great ones out there. I've had EUDs last forever for using ATAC. ATAC's not super resource heavy on the device side. So S23, it's been great. And then Juggernaut is the mount of choice, obviously, for this. This little connector, you might be wondering what this is. This is from Freedom Atlantic. They make an adapter to basically lock a cable in place into this EUD. They sent this one out to me, and I think they were going to make a couple more for some other devices I have. I haven't heard back from them or talked to them much, but all it really is it's just a 3D printed housing with little grippy clips, so that way it grips onto whatever Juggernaut case I'm using, and it keeps it all secured in place. I like it. It's trim. It protects the EUD cable a little bit, and just gives it a more clean look. If you didn't know, on Juggernaut cases, there's actually a little at least on the newer ones, there's a little pass-through. So if you're running any type of wires on, the opposite side of your radio, wherever your peripheral is, you can actually run it underneath, and it really cleans up the run. I like that a lot. Coming out the other side, the cable itself, the EUD cable, is a proto cable one. You guys heard me talk about proto cable, love proto cable, EUD cables. Actually, I love all their cables, but for this application, it's an EUD cable, and it's coming into my StreamCaster, my 4400 here. And then, as I mentioned, I'm using a COM Gear Supply PTT, and this one happens to be modular. Now, why did I go with a modular PTT for this plate carrier? Well, as I talked about in the last video, I sometimes use a DMR radio instead. So being able to leave a PTT attached to my plate carrier and switch over to my DMR radio, whether it's a Hytera or Motorola, that's really convenient. So don't have to change out what PTT I use. I just change out whatever connector's on the radio side and just leave it connected to the radio. So on the radio wing itself, I use the Spiritus radio wing. I don't use the MPRC on here. I actually like my radio tucked into my side. I find it comfortable. Most people can't stand it. I don't know if I'm just in the minority or what it is, but I actually like my radio up front. I like having authority over the multi-position switch and being able to turn it on or off. And I really like having these gooseneck antennas. They give me, just a lot of flexibility. They're very comfortable. These ones are from Southwest Antennas. These are their gooseneck style antennas. You guys are going to hear more about Southwest Antennas here in a bit. But like the Southwest Antennas, gooseneck setup, and my cummerbund is an Axle Advanced Equinox cummerbund. So there's a lot of Axle products on here. I do work some with Axle on my day job side. So I like Axle products. They're really great. This one, their cummerbund is probably one of the best products they make. Coming around up front, this is more relevant to just, basic any type of assaulter roll. So got a tourniquet inside a little elastic pouch. Got 3 mags. And then I also have some elastic mag pouches up front that just lay flat when they're not in use. And I can throw either magazine or some other specialty tool in there. Sometimes there's stuff in there, but that's more relevant to some other stuff, so I took them out. And then up front, I use the Spiritus Systems brunch box. In the main compartment, I have a notebook right now. Sometimes there's some other stuff in there that I'm not going to get into. And then up front, I just have a tiny little bag of first aid stuff. And I keep some rubber bands. There's a lot of administrative uses for rubber bands. I love rubber bands. You're going to find them in just about every single kit of mine. But that is the front, right? So very trim, stays for the most part out of the way. I really like it that way. I don't like loading down my kit with a lot of stuff. That's something that was reinforced quite a bit at that class I went to, CQB Tusk. So we'll talk about the back panel. The back panel does come off, but I keep it loaded with such few amount of items that I find it's perfectly comfortable to sit in a vehicle. It's a lot more comfortable than wearing an assault pack. I hate wearing an assault pack with a plate carrier. So we'll talk about the back here real quick because there is some relevant stuff on it. This side, just rubber banded on, is a flex cuff. And then right next to it, I keep some Theorem cell vaults. Just one Theorem cell vault with the batteries in it to replace the batteries that are in my carbine. And then on this side, my other flank is my IFAC, the rest of my IFAC that works in conjunction with my tourniquet. And then further in is some tubular nylon, and that is used for creating a hasty litter. So all useful stuff. I also don't like putting radios on my flanks because, as you can see, I put other stuff there. So got to keep the radio up front just to keep, room for this other stuff. Again, this is just how I like to use it. Doesn't mean you have to run it this way, just my preference. And then on the underside here, the rest of the hardware is set off to the side, but I have a strap that I attach in here, and this is for retaining a shotgun for shotgun breaching. So that's what goes on over here. That's why, for the most part, it's generally slick. Getting into the back panel itself, on the left-hand side, I just have 2 flashbangs that's standardized across my group of guys. And then on the right-hand side, I keep a couple of the twist lock batteries. So the batteries in the StreamCasters do not last quite like a Baofeng does, where you can go days and days and days on end. Typically, you get about 12 hours out of them. So I keep a couple extras in the event that I need one or one of my buddies needs ones. And then in the big compartment, there's actually only one thing. It is an Audi Gear SSE bag. It's just a packable duffel, holds like 55 liters. The reason I like that isn't because I'm doing CIA work where I'm, getting laptops off of some terrorist house. It's actually in the event that I need to carry stuff for one of my buddies, right? So if one of my buddies gets injured, goes down, and I need to take all of his gear off of him to move him, I can put his gear in the SSC bag. It's also just a great general purpose bag. So it's also really soft, and so even though it looks like it might be pretty big, it's really comfortable on my lumbar when I'm sitting in a vehicle. So that is my kit. Just hitting it right out the gate. I know, like I said, I don't use comms very much when I'm in kit like this, but at least wanted to cover it for you guys. We can talk about my radio itself because it'll be the same radio throughout the entirety of the video that I use on my own personal kit if I'm not using a DMR radio. And it is a Silvus StreamCaster. Surprise, surprise, right? So I know my last video was much more agnostic in terms of talking about both the MPU5 and the Silvus StreamCaster because they were talking about my personal kit, my group of guys. It's going to be all StreamCasters throughout this video. It's not to say that these concepts aren't relevant to the MPU5. They 100% are, but that's just going to be what you see throughout the entirety of the video. This one happens to have a wrap on it from Covert Innovations. So Covert Innovations, when I talked about it in my last video, I wasn't sure if all their products were released yet or not, but these all should be live now on their website. So the battery wraps and then the wraps for the StreamCaster itself. The reason I really like these wraps, I'm usually not an aesthetics guy, but I do like that they give some added protection. As I talked about in my last video, I purchased these surplus. A military unit decided these were end of life, right? No longer fit for service. And so that means they have wear and tear and nicks and dings on them. And so just being able to cover those surfaces and, protect and protract out the usable life I'm going to get out of these, covering all the surfaces and just making it a little bit more durable is a really nice touch. So shout out to Covert Innovations. Really appreciate you putting that together. And then one of the things I leave on my StreamCaster is the PTT I guess adapter, for lack of a better word, PTT dongle, right? So it just goes right into the PTT port, and then any of the modular PTTs that Comm Gear Supply makes, I can just connect right in there. So super nice. I have a few of those. I don't just have the one on my kit, and that just gives a lot of agility to my two main kits that I'm going to use. So that is the Assaulter kit with my StreamCaster. We're going to move this over to my SUT open LAN kit, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so jumping over to my chest rig, which is where the majority of the use for tools like these are actually going to take place, in my opinion, with my group of guys and the way we work together. And the biggest reason for that is because when we're wearing kit like this, when we're out in the woods, out in open land, it's way more likely that we are going to be separated and have multiple elements maneuvering at any given time. And so being able to have passive information about where people are, have chat, send images back and forth, do reconnaissance, utilize drones, that's more likely to happen in open land versus CQB. So that's why you see this kit is a little bit more optimized and a little bit more modular and agile in its ability. So the kit is a Spirited Systems 34 Alpha. I've had it for about 4 years in basically this exact configuration, long since I owned MANET radios, and I just like it. I like the configuration. About the only thing that isn't vetted, right, I haven't taken it out to any extensive scenario-based class, is the EUD bridge. The EUD bridge is a Spiritus products. It does exactly what it's called. It bridges, right? It's a modular system that mounts to the chest rig for my end user device, right? Same Samsung S23. The reason why I went with this is I was surprised. And again, everything that I do is driven by experiences, classes, and training, right? So was out at a TUS class. This one was the TUS Designated Marksman, which I'm not going to talk about what I learned at that class, but I will talk about the change that was influenced. We found ourselves doing a lot more fire maneuver than I expected, and that requires situational awareness over where each team is. And so I'd happened to pack some of my StreamCasters with me, didn't really anticipate using them very much, but we had a great opportunity to actually use them, in which I loaned one out to another team. That other team used it for position and location information, and as well as a camera feed. And so it was a lot easier to have a passive shared situational awareness of what each team was doing. Obviously, we also had comms, right? It had a PTT on it. He was able to talk, and we were able to have active communication. But that passive situational awareness was really nice. Really kept the tempo nice and high, which was awesome. So loved that. The downside was that to view his camera feed, I had to have my end user device. And when I, put all this on, it dawned on me that I didn't have anywhere to put my EUD. So what I did was, just for the duration of that exercise, I threw it in the pocket of my field top, which worked totally fine for that situation, but that obviously isn't a very, safe, repeatable, and when I say safe, I mean safe for the asset, the sensitive item. It's not very repeatable, and it was just kind of janky. So what I landed on, what I'm experimenting with right now, is the EUD bridge. What's nice about this is it not only has the the cable management and everything built into it, but it's super easy to remove. I'm able to actually just leave this side tucked into itself, and I'm just use it as a quick way. If I want to undo the split style of it, I can get in and out of it pretty easily. This side is a little bit more secured, but I could pull it all the way off if I wanted to. Get all this put back. And this mount, this Juggernaut mount, is a little different from the one on my plate carrier. This one has wireless charging, and I have a small battery bank in my admin pocket. So if I'm using this, not just for MANET stuff, but if I have all my maps on it, or if I'm using it to take photos, or there's numerous reasons I could be using an end user device out in the field. I have the ability to prolong its battery life with that wireless charging and the battery bank in my admin pouch. So that is the EUD bridge. The push-to-talk is another modular push-to-talk. So here in the Spiritus mutant pouch is where the radio lives. I can pull it out here, but I don't always use a MANET radio. It's very context-driven, it's very situation-driven. I like that I can just throw one of my DMR radios on it, and I can be set if I wanted to. Here, I'll go ahead and just pull the whole thing off for you guys. I really like this EUD bridge. It's very well designed. I'm excited to get more time with it. But there it is. There's the EUD bridge pulled all the way off. One end is my proto cable, EUD cable. I need to get another one of the Atlantic signal, little connector things for it. And then that is the cable that goes into the battery bank. So that way I can charge this thing, several times over with the little, little anchor battery thing in there. But this is actually what the kit looks like most of the time, and what it looked like for the majority of the last 4 years. It hasn't really changed at all. I can talk about what I got going on in here. On the back side, inside the 34 Alpha, I keep 4 M4 magazines, but those are not my quick reloads. My quick reloads are right here in the Spiritus Spud pouch. So I got 2 magazines in there. As I already talked about, I use the mutant pouch on this side because it's great for radios. And it fits, everything from a Baofeng that I've used at different classes, a Hytera, all the way up to the StreamCaster. So really like the mutant pouch. Definitely one of their most underrated products. In the mutant pouch, I'm not going to get too extensive, but I'll just show you guys. I keep some admin stuff in here. So different connectors, little hair bands, little tool sets, lots and lots of note-taking material. So that's what lives in there. And then the mutant pouch actually has Molly on it. And so I use a Theorem Cell Vault 5M on the backside that I can store a bunch of batteries in it for all my other gear. So night vision, rifle lights, optics, stuff like that. I got my pens all in here. And then on this side is a Nalgene. So nothing special. You guys have seen an Nalgene before. In the Spiritus Nalgene pouch, I know a lot of guys like a secondary spud there, but because I use the cells on the inside of the 34 Alpha, I don't use a second spud. I use an Nalgene pouch. And then I got their GP Medium. In this pouch is a Kana personal water decon kit. And in here is my night vision just wrapped up in a little windbreaker. I don't use the padded insert. I actually like using a windbreaker because then it's more dual purpose, right? And a VS17. That is what this kit looks like, whether or not it has the StreamCaster mounted on it. I also, right, if signals intelligence is a concern, for whatever reason, I can use just the StreamCaster with voice instead. So I don't have to have the EUD bridge. That's kind of like using a Ferrari for a commuter if I don't need the data integration, but I certainly could do it if I wanted to. This is another Comm Gear Supply PTT. This one's just a different style, and then it goes into the exact same helmet setup. Nothing different, so I'm not going to show you that again. And that is the chest rig open LAN kit. So what we're going to do is, from this point of the video onward, you're going to see a lot of vlog in use style media. It's not just me standing in front of my slat wall talking about gear. You're gonna see me actually using this stuff, so we're gonna hop into that. Again, when we look at like pop culture and the media that MANET radios typically occupy, typically the only type of use case you see is just like assaulter guys in plate carriers doing CQB, doing a hit on a building, and they happen to be wearing MANET radios. Well, in the real world, especially with a lot of the DoD side of things, that is true. Those use cases do exist. But MANET radios get flexed into a lot of applications. And this is the part where you kind of have to take your mind out of what you've seen in marketing and start to consider the actual tool itself and its applications. So what I've done here is I'm doing some training and set up an LPOP. And one of the things that MANET radios are capable of doing, really what they're designed for, is high data throughput at the tactical edge. What do I mean by the tactical edge? That basically just means at the very edge of where any type of conventional infrastructure could support an initiative, And so if I'm in an LPOP, listening post, observation post, Dirty Civilian has some great videos on those subjects and on designated marksman, go check those out. But for like an LPOP, you're gonna be uniquely positioned in a few different ways. You are gonna be at the tactical edge, and you also are going to be in a place that provides real clearly observable areas, right? You're gonna have an area of responsibility that you're responsible for observing, right? So you're probably doing some type of data collection or intelligence gathering. And thirdly, you're gonna probably be pretty high up. If you know anything about radio waves, elevation is something that you wanna seek to gain wherever possible. And so that's why I set up this whole system here the way that I did. So I got my 6-arc here. I have my Silvus StreamCaster 4400 in this case, but you could do the same thing with a 4200. It would just look a little different. And then I have a tough book here. So with my tough book, let me see, I'll get this thing booted up here. Now, while WinTAC is loading on my tough book here, we'll talk about why I have this second radio on here. Now, with this configuration, I'm using a ROIP radio over IP cable from Proto Cable. And I'm taking a Motorola XPR 7550, just a DMR radio, right? That just happens to be the model that's compatible with the cable. And I'm performing ROIP, radio over IP. What that means is this radio, this DMR radio, is acting as the recipient of DMR audio. So if you know anything about conventional LMRs, I talked about it a little bit in my first video. DMR is a land mobile radio. It's actually what I have in this kit right now. I'm not wearing a MANET radio on my kit right now. And what this is doing is this is injecting that audio into the push-to-talk network that exists on the Silvus StreamCasters, right? So basically what that means is that I can talk into this, and it would go from this radio into this radio. It gets piped in to the Silvus StreamCasters, and guys who are talking on Silvus, right? Guys who are wearing Silvuses, because there are some guys out here wearing Silvuses, you'll see them later in this video. Those guys are able to talk cross-platform to guys who are running DMR radios. So this acts as like a hinge point for MANET radio voice comms and DMR comms. I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably wondering, well, hey, does that work with analog? Yes, absolutely, it works with analog. This is essentially just a recipient, right? So what it would do is you could program this with an analog channel, and you could talk literally from Baofeng to Silvus. You know what? I'll just do that as an example. I'll roll that in here real quick. Right here doing some training. So I got the ROIP rig set up again. Just to show you guys, it does work with Baofengs as well. So right now, got multiple video feeds going. Cole's up top with his Mohawk. Tommy's down here with an Obscura camera. And we've got ROIP going on, so I can talk to them with the Baofeng. Hotel 11, this is Kilo 3, good copy, over. Cool, so now that I have ATAC fired up here, the other thing I'm able to do is I'm able to populate information inside of our TAC server for any type of intelligence gathering I might be performing in this role. Now again, this is all an example. There's not an actual enemy force that direction. I'm just shooting some still targets. But what I'm able to do is, say I captured any type of video recording with my thermal optic, or I set up a little IP camera, what I could do is I could put that inside of ATAC, or in some cases, depending on the platform and what it supports, I could even stream live video with this as well. So this is one use case that is probably not one that you've seen, but it absolutely happens a lot in military applications. You just might not necessarily see it in any types of media. Oh yeah, last thing I forgot to mention, I am also running a Wi-Fi dongle just for the convenience of being able to have internet on my cell phone out here, because right now there's no cell service where I'm located. So that's just a Wi-Fi dongle. It's creating a little Wi-Fi network here. You could access that with EUDs, or I could put this laptop on it if I wanted to. But yeah, that's just something I'm using for convenience right now. All right, guys, so we do have to thank some people that actually made this video possible and wanted this video and all this information to be free, and those people are Southwest Antennas. Southwest Antennas reached out. They wanted to sponsor this video and provide not only some information, but also some tools for me to demonstrate some stuff for you guys. Southwest Antennas makes pretty much every antenna possible that you could ever need. Everything from these omnidirectional gooseneck antennas, spring-loaded antennas, the MIMO antenna for the 4400 I have in my truck. They also provide all the information about their products right on the product page. So things like gain, polarization, directionality, E-plane, H-plane, all the information that antenna nerds ever need to make a decision about what they're purchasing. You guys have no idea how rare it actually is in this industry for a manufacturer to want people to be more educated and less susceptible to dishonest or misleading marketing. And so the fact that Southwest Antennas wanted you guys to have all this information and that they publish all the information about their products right on their website really says a lot about their character. I'm really happy that they wanted to partner with us on this video, and hopefully you guys can see some more information about Southwest Antennas in some future content. So we'll get back into it, but thanks guys for making this possible. So you can see I got them loaded up here. Got Cole up top and Tommy on the bottom. They're running some shooting drills right now. But I'm getting, you can hear the gunfire in the background. And I'm getting an almost instantaneous view of, moved into the truck so that way you guys get a lot less glare. Just got the 4400 on a little tripod up there. And we got, looks like Tommy's doing some stuff around the truck. It's like Tommy's about to start shooting. You can hear him shooting in the background, so that's how instantaneous the video feed is. This is not something you're going to do with Mestastic. So got 2 live video feeds going right now. Got ROIP going on right now. So here's a Pelican case I have set up. A few of the guys have StreamCasters, but not everybody does. So, I have my loaner kits that you guys saw in the first video. So got some EUDs, got some loaner kits in here. This is where I actually also keep my twist lock battery charger, and I'm gonna top off some batteries as well. So yeah, little fly loaner kit, holds 3 of them just fine. This flex charger is so cool. The fact that it's like $800 is honestly like a travesty. It's got a little USB pass-through as well, but I can charge it to 4 batteries at once. You guys saw how flat it folds. A USB pass-through for charging the battery for my thermal. So yeah, this is cool. You guys are gonna see more about this truck here later in this video, but just charging some batteries because I used these all through the night last night. All right, so Cole here is one of the guys I go training, different classes, different events, do stuff together, and he is one of the guys that actually purchased a Silvus StreamCaster, right? So it's not just me owning the majority of them. A few of our guys actually own their own personal one. So he's gonna give you just a rundown of his kit. A lot of it's gonna be pretty similar to the way I had my plate carrier set up. Some of the things are a little bit different, but I'll let him get into that, and I'll just get you guys some close-up footage as well, and I might ask him some questions. So Cole, why don't you go ahead and start with, well, I guess first you can tell us about like, kind of like what you do, your interest in this, and then we can launch into your helmet. So
yeah, I mean, what I do is I'm a normal dude, have a normal job, work a normal 9 to 5. But I have a special interest in these type of stuff, as the prepared citizen or, just someone who has a hobby, right?
Right.
So this is kind of a twofold thing for me. It's a hobby. It's fun. It's fun to get out and train with the guys. Yeah. But it's also fun to like know that you have skills and abilities and tools available to protect yourself and others, right?
Absolutely. Well, and there's some real life use cases that you and I have done together. We'll get into that after your kit rundown. So
Yeah.
why don't you just start with what do you got going on here
For sure.
the helmet?
So here we have the OpsCore XR. This is the 762 rated OpsCore. You'll notice it's pretty standard. You have your ear protection, your comms here, OpsCore amps. I've got my Mohawk IP camera that I actually connect to my Silvus so that I can live stream over the ATAC to the guys so they can see what's going on real time. Just going around the back. Standard PVS 31 battery pack with a strobe. Coming up front, we have our task light with IR and white light. And then, of course, our night vision mount for when things get dark, to put our night vision on and get ready to go, right?
Right.
Cool. So that's about it for the helmet. It's pretty simple stuff.
And you use the OpsCore. You like the amps like I do, right?
Correct.
I think
correct.
you and I are the two like amp lovers in the group. I think.
No, I mean I like the amps. They're like really feature packed, right? I mean you can disconnect all this stuff and just run them as standard earmuffs. Easy, quick swap to the headband. You can run dual lead without having two leads attached at all times. I mean, there's a ton of cool features. NFMI plugs, like if you're doing something close quarters with extra ear protection, it's really great features, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are all the things I like about the amps as well.
It's good stuff.
Cool. Well, those have to plug into something, right?
Right.
So we're gonna get into your plate carrier now. Now you you love this. This carrier is new for you, right?
Yeah.
You want to tell us about it?
Right. So this is the LV120 from Spirit Systems.
Yeah. Go ahead and pick it up.
Yeah. So this is it right here. I'm a Spiritus guy through and through, right? So when I bought
consistent
theme, across all my kit. When I bought this, it was just another Spiritus product. Cool, awesome. But then you kind of get into it, you put it together, you attach things like the Silvus to it. And you realize how feature packed it is, right? So kind of going front to back, this is my plate carrier. I have it set up for, all kinds of things. We have our EUD up front, our placard holding all of our mags, 4 rifle mags up front with the temp for various admin things.
Yeah. Now, as I already talked about in my portion where I talked about my plate carrier, you may not necessarily be doing a lot of ATAC stuff when you're actually wearing a plate carrier for like an assault role.
Right.
It's more so for like when you have teams that are separated, but there's a concern over ballistics and you guys want to have a little bit of protection. So, I'm assuming, a little bit of a layup, but like you have the ability to move this to other rigs as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. You can just take this right off and pop it, put it on another rig. Put it in your pocket, whatever you need to do.
Okay,
exactly.
Cool. Yeah, perfect. And what case are you using for that?
This is the Juggernaut Impact case.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Juggernaut
That is
Impact.
a beefy EUD.
It's massive, yeah. Cool.
Cool. Yeah, you want to spin it around? Show everybody the StreamCaster you got going on?
So, this is the back side here. So here we have my Silvus StreamCaster that I purchased. It's a great radio. It's kind of well above my knowledge level of all the features that this has. Luckily, we have a guy like Austin around to teach us these things. As you can see, it's mounted on an MPRC on the side of the back side of my cummerbund, running the PTT to the front of the cummerbund.
Yeah.
You'll see here, we have a lot of cables coming out of this thing. This is actually the cable that plugs into my Mohawk,
so
that I can send footage over the net,
to
the guys via their EUDs.
Okay, cool.
Right?
Yeah, very nice. And this is the new 120. I do not have a 120. I have a 119.
Right.
I think you had a 119
I did.
before this.
Yeah.
The 119 has a ton of routing capability.
Right.
I'm assuming that carried over with the 120.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you have the ability to kind of run into the plate bag if you need to for certain things, through the shoulder pads down to front channels and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of cable routing capability there, for sure.
Cool. Now you like your radio on the back.
Yeah.
What kind of because I don't care for that. What made you decide to put it there?
Right. So I'm a big guy, right? So
there's a little bit of a size difference.
There's a little bit of a size difference there. Yeah. So I'm a big guy. In running that radio kind of up front, it worked. It definitely could do it, but it was really tight, right? And so just kind of uncomfortable. Finding ways to work around shorter cables and routing it to the back was kind of difficult at first. You and I have played with a lot of different push-to-talk configurations and things like that. But running into the back and securing it with some shock cord, it makes it where it's kind of out of the way. you know, one of my guys can like fix my antennas if they get messed up or whatever.
Right.
But it's just more comfortable for me.
Okay,
right?
cool. Talk to us about your PTT placement, because you and Tommy, who we're going to see in a minute, you guys both landed on the same placement. You want us to spin that around, talk us through that?
So, Tommy and I both have the same EUDs, and these things are massive, as you can see, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than my Samsung S23.
Yeah, so it kind of covers up the molly right here where you would attach a push-to-talk.
Okay.
And so, of course, in the midst of buying, you know, the 120, we see some cool things from Spiritus that are in the pipeline, right?
Right.
And they were working on some kind of mount that mounted the push-to-talk on the cummerbund. So we were like, let's give it a try. We can jerry-rig something.
Okay.
And so this is kind of how we landed on it.
Yeah.
It's extremely comfortable. Like, you don't even know your push-to-talk is there, and it's almost a natural, like, place to put your hand, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you're keying up, like, it's no problem at all.
So this PTT, it's not necessarily because you have a need for the dual channels. We're not using dual channels right now.
No.
It's like it just allowed you the mounting solution,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So, and you've used the Comm Gear Supply ones as well, and those will work just fine as well, right?
For sure, absolutely, yeah. The coiled cable coming from the back, it allows a lot of flexibility with, you know, mounting and different platforms and things like that, yeah.
All right, well, cool. Well, awesome, man. So this is cool, right? Like you and I have said now in our portions, using the EUDs actually in like a civilian CQB type of role isn't probably going to come up very often, right? Most of the time, it's single dude, single team, single structure. You know, we might separate geographically for some type of like sentry or like security posture, and that's where it would come into play. Doing integration with like cameras. That's cool. There's a little bit of a LARP factor going on. You and I had some experience with using these for a real life use case when there was some flooding in Central Texas, right? So if you didn't know, we live in the Houston area. There was the flooding last year. And so we went and helped out, not in Kern County, but a little bit north in Leander.
In Leander,
right?
yeah.
You want to talk to about, like, because I think you got a pretty good concept of what we did while we were out there.
Yeah, I mean, so of course we wanted to make ourselves, you know, the most use that we could be, right? So whether that was helping, you know, with various activities or just, you know, setting up networking and communications for various teams that were out in the fields.
Yeah.
So yeah, we utilized the Silvus, the StreamCasters, to set up a network of sorts, right? Various nodes placed, you know, strategically throughout the area to cover, you know, with internet and those types of things.
Right. Yeah, so kind of what he's talking about, guys, is we were helping out. There was a volunteer team of guys who had like a construction background and heavy machinery, and there were various staging areas where guys were using a messaging app to coordinate volunteer efforts, right? So it all had to be like cell phone, Wi-Fi based. There were some Baofangs present, but even like getting everybody on the same page Baofeng-wise was pretty difficult. But everyone has a cell phone, right? And people were using cell phones to task and coordinate their efforts. And these staging areas, it was mixed whether they had cell coverage or not. You know, maybe one carrier worked or one carrier didn't. And so what we did was we took a network of Silvus StreamCasters with Wi-Fi dongles, essentially just making them access points.
Right.
And we had a single Starlink that was within that network, and it was like all of the internet was piped to that one single Starlink, and you know, over this wide distributed area, you know, all these volunteers were able to have access to internet, right? And so, yeah, this is cool, right? This is definitely like what people are most used to seeing on like the marketing and the materials around like MANET radios for DoD use. Right. But there is like some humanitarian and disaster relief applications for this as well, right?
For sure.
And what's cool is, right, like you have yours set up as your, you know, in your assaulter configuration. You could move this to, you know, your chest rig.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so even if you want to grab it, it's right there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
You know, I could very easily move this radio platform over to, you know, this thing too.
Who makes this chest rig, Cole?
This is a Spiritus Systems product,
really?
Austin. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, so easily I could just, you know, take this Silvus Streamcaster out, unbungee the push-to-talk, and then just set it up on this chest rig, depending on, you know, whatever we're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to be running around a plate carrier if we're doing some humanitarian stuff.
Right, exactly. Well, and to that point, right, like you also have a Wi-Fi dongle, right? So you could just like in shorts and a t-shirt, just be walking around with this thing
Yeah.
as a Wi-Fi access point, right?
Absolutely.
And that agility is something that like you really only get with the MANET radios, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't get my Motorola out and do those types of
Right,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and like you've seen us do like ubiquity stuff, but those are fixed, right?
Right.
You couldn't go from like wearing it in a pouch to like setting it on a desk,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, awesome. Like, yeah, this is a great setup.
Appreciate
it.
it.
Works pretty well. Are you like a millionaire, or are you like you know, a nepo baby that just has hundreds of thousands of dollars?
No trust fund, no millions. No, I'm just a normal dude.
You're just like a normal person
Yeah.
responsible with money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, right.
Exactly.
So you don't have to be a millionaire to afford nice equipment. You just have to be smart with your finances.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool. Well, awesome, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep.
Hi, Tommy. How are you? We're gonna go over your kit as well.
I'm Tommy. What's up?
This is a little funny because you and Cole, you guys started with very different executions of your plate carrier, and you guys have like kind of converged onto a very similar setup. So some of this information is probably going to be a little redundant, but I still think it's cool to talk about it because you are another example of somebody who owns, you know, their own Silvus StreamCaster, right?
Yeah.
Do you kind of want to, first of all, I guess we didn't really do this with Cole, but your story's like pretty similar. Do you want to talk through like how you got access to one of the StreamCasters?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know Austin, so that's kind of the big thing. But you know, like, I'm not some dude who makes a ton of money, but you know, I budget wisely, and
Right.
you know, like, these things are important. You
Right.
know.
Yeah, but we're self-funded, right? So like all this
Yeah.
training that we do together, this is all stuff that, you know, we have to pay for ourselves. And so like sometimes there isn't a lot of standardization, but nevertheless, like it feeds into the initiative of being a prepared citizen, right?
Exactly.
So why don't you walk us through your carrier setup that you got here? I know again it's pretty similar to Cole's, but that's okay. Go ahead and talk us through it. Or
Yeah.
Or you can start with your helmet, whatever you want to do.
We'll go top down. So this is a OpsCore Fast SF. It's got Comtech 5s on there. It's got dual down leads, but I don't really use both of them. So just the left down lead plugs into the this is a comms gear supply push to talk. It's just one of like the regular ones that has the cold cable, and it plugs into the push to talk port on the Silvus. I have that mounted on the cummerbund just because there's not enough room with the EUD. We'll talk about that here in a second.
Okay, yeah, you and Cole both kind of identified that as maybe like a little bit of like something that maybe you'd like to see changed, or like some sort of adapter to potentially change in the future.
Yeah, it's not a problem with the plate carrier or the EUD or the push to talk. It's just there's just not enough space.
Right.
So the Silvus is in a Spiritus MPRC. It's like their large frame radio pouch. It's supposed to be sitting lower, but I did a little mod to where it doesn't sag because these radios are heavy. They're like a pound or two, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so you run yours on the outside of the cummerbund just like Cole does.
Yeah, and
is that just a comfort thing?
Yeah, it's a comfort thing. It's also I don't like stuff like I like all my ribs.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of like feeling the radio, and like these get hot too.
Right.
So like especially if like it gets like warm and it's hot outside, like it's not comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I must be in the minority of where I like mine inside the cummerbund and up front, and it doesn't really bother me at all. So that's kind of interesting.
Usually I would run a radio, like we have some Hyteras that they're smaller and like they don't get as hot. But I'm not really messing with the settings on this radio because like all there is volume on the multifunction knob right here.
Okay. And a teammate can turn that on for you, right?
Yeah, so I usually run it on volume 3 or 4 because that's what works best, but we have shooting buddies for a reason, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's on the MPRC. I have the EUD cable in the auxiliary port that is routed through the shoulder pads, and then runs under the EUD and just plugs into the this is a Galaxy S23 in the Juggernaut mount.
Okay, cool. And this is, so I provided this. I brought this out here for the training that we're doing. This is an Obscura camera. It is a Silvus product, but there's other products out there that can perform the same functionality.
Yeah.
And this gives us first-person view of whatever you're looking at, which is kind of cool. Again, it's not something that we necessarily would do if it's just like a single team doing CQB together as just like a group of guys. But it is something that's cool and useful if we're in like a sentry position, right? Or maybe like we have to, split manpower a little bit.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the Silvuses too, is that you can have multiple of these. You can have these, like the Mohawks. You can have a ton of cameras. I'm not sure what the limit is. I'm not sure if there's one or not. But
whatever the network can support, right?
Yeah, but you can have these set up in like certain positions to where you don't have to have a physical person there to watch that area, which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, that's something I haven't even talked about yet, but it's something I've done at other classes is using them as like an unmanned camera, right? Obviously, this is a sensitive item. If I'm choosing to do that, it's because, we're lacking for manpower. And so I normally would not want to leave a sensitive item unattended. But, if we're in a pinch and we have to maintain like a certain strict security posture, yeah, we've done that before too. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we have those other cameras that are in tripods and they're more, I guess,
the stationary ones. Yeah. The Ubiquity nano beams.
Yeah, but those all they tie into the Silvus network, which is really cool.
Right.
Which is
So Tommy, he knows what he's talking about. He just may not necessarily know the technical term. What he's talking about is the fact that Silvus StreamCasters support TCP/IP just like Ubiquity nano beams do, right? So if you have a common tie-in point, like a network switch and a TAC server, you can have all those shared assets talking to each other. When I say asset, I mean anything that's on a Ubiquity network, like a camera, anything that's on the Silvus network, Tommy's camera here and his EUD. So Tommy brings up a good point. He's not using the technical words for it, but he is correct in the sense that this is scalable with other networking equipment. Yeah. So thank you again for reminding me of that.
Yeah, I think that's...
Talk to me about this, the PTT positioning and what you got going on here with this GP pouch, because this is actually kind of cool. I like that you dropped it one.
Yeah, so I stole this from the Spiritus page. I'm pretty sure it was the Spiritus page. I just didn't like it up here. Like because
your EUD is smaller than Cole's.
Yeah, and there's not enough room, and I switched this push talk between two other kits. It was like a low vis rig and like it's like a split rig.
Okay.
So mounting it here didn't work because it was so tight and it was so tight in that it took me forever to take the cable out. But this is much better because it's tucked under my arm. I don't know if they can see it. The cable is very easy to take off the thing and put it on a different kit.
Yeah. Why don't you, hey, real quick, go grab your EUD, or sorry, your Wi-Fi dongle real quick.
Okay.
All right, so cool. Real quick, so what we did was we actually did a cut because you hit on something that I thought was really important, was you talked about the agility and being able to move it between different pieces of kit. We reconfigured this. We took off the primary cable and the EUD connector, or sorry, the EUD cable, and we configured it. This is the most common configuration. I actually see you running around with it. I think I even give you a hard time that you're always running the Wi-Fi dongle. So why don't you hold this up and just talk us through that kit agility and moving it to different things.
So like I said, there's 3 different kits. There's plate carrier, there's a low vis rig with 3 mags and an EUD, and then there's a split rig. So this can be taken off the plate carrier in, I don't know, sub 1 minute.
Yeah.
And it can be put on any other kit. And the cool thing about this is that the Wi-Fi dongle, if you have multiple dudes with multiple EUDs, or they have 1 EUD each, they can connect to the Silvus and have their own dot on ATAC, and there's just one radio.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really good thing. That you keep prompting me with things that I haven't.
My bad.
You keep prompting me with things that I hadn't thought about but are good to talk about. Yeah. So Tommy brought up a really good point, right? He talked about how again, you probably wouldn't do this if you're in a near peer or contested environment where your concern is signals intelligence and what the other teams are able to do. But just for general use, patrolling and security posture, especially urban environments where there's a million Wi-Fi networks, one of the things you can do is each we could call them, for lack of a better term, a fire team. Say you have 5 guys out doing a security patrol, or guys are in a vehicle together or something like that. You really only need one guy wearing a StreamCaster, right? He can do the voice comms. He can be basically the RTO.
Yep.
But because this is a Wi-Fi access point, that gives anybody who's using an EUD, why don't you go pull your EUD off? Anybody in that fire team who has an end user device can just connect to the little Wi-Fi network that this thing creates. and then everyone can have access to ATAC, right?
Yeah.
And because these are able to support like way higher data throughput than a lot of the other devices out there, you're able to essentially have like multiple ATAC clients all on one StreamCaster, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, I'm sure there's lots of like groups of guys watching these videos. As you go out there, if you're like, oh, we were only able to get like 2 or 3 StreamCasters, well, that's okay, because you can, you know, figure out some form of way to, you know, do the Wi-Fi dongle, and then teams can actually share the Wi-Fi connection, right? Which is kind of cool. So, yeah, that was a really good point. Something I hadn't even thought to talk about.
Well, so I ran that last night because we were out doing some stuff, and I had the Wi-Fi dongle on, and I'm not sure if you talked about how to plug the Silvus into the Starlink, and you have like the ROIP.
Yeah, I've already
Okay.
talked about ROIP.
Yeah, so
in the video. Yeah.
There was a 4400 plugged into the Starlink, and I was connected to the 4400 with the 4200.
Yeah.
And if you connected to this Silvus, you would have Wi-Fi. So it was for dudes who didn't have a Silvus, or they just wanted Wi-Fi, they could connect to this, and they would get Wi-Fi out in the middle of nowhere, basically.
Yeah, so you and I were out mobile out on a hog hunt. It was the same night where I had the LPOP that I showed you guys. You know, we're out in the middle of the field where there's really like no cell service, and, you know, my Starlink's at the cabin, you know, like 400, 500, 600 yards away.
Yeah.
And we're using, you know, the really robust connection that the Silvus StreamCasters have to bridge that internet connection. So, which is, you know, kind of, hopefully, if you didn't understand what Cole and I were talking about with the help we did in Leander, that's exactly what it is, right? Is we're just using the configuration like this to set up Wi-Fi access points, you know, similar to how if you're in like a corporate office, if there's Wi-Fi access points, you know, throughout the entire building, it's just wireless, right? It's wireless and it's man-worn versus, you know, just confined to a single building. So,
yeah, I mean, like for something like this, like you don't even need a push-to-talk for most of them. Like it's just a node that someone can hold. You know, like not everyone needs a push-to-talk or like a hand mic.
Right.
It's just a node to transmit data and voice and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I are finding, especially because most of our guys are still on like DMR radios, you know, they're talking on Hyteras and Motorola's. We're finding, especially when paired with ROIP, is that this doesn't really like replace voice comms. It just gives us another like data pathway and like a different way to leverage those assets, and also, you know, do things like any type of data with ATAC, video feeds, internet. So that again, we could have had Cole talk about it, but Cole didn't get rid of his other radios, right? Cole has his Motorola DMR radios. You didn't get rid of your Hytera either, did you?
Yep.
Right. So
yeah,
well,
so I can like put that on different kits. I mean, like if I don't have anyone with the Silvus near me, I can just like put the Hytera back on and, you know, talk to Baofangs or other Hyteras or other DMR radios.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, sure.
So these are Comtac 5s. I had Comtac 3s a while back, and the Silvuses are just too powerful. So they would make the Comtacs buzz and make all kinds of crazy noises.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is what we're kind of figuring out is we don't know if sometimes it's because, you know, there's counterfeit ear pro out there or some older ear pro, because these radios operate in a little bit of a newer spectrum for tactical radios, right? In S-band and C-band, that sometimes you get like a buzzing or a harmonic in your ear pro.
Yeah.
Cole and I don't get that with the amps. The amps are new, and you don't get that anymore with these new headsets, right? But like your Comtac 3s, like anytime.
It was bad.
Yeah. I think you couldn't even like mount it anywhere on your body because you would get it, right?
I would get it if I was even near a Silvus.
Okay.
So
that's good to know, right? So those of you with Comtac 3s, I'm sorry to say this, but you're probably gonna have some interference, which is not uncommon, right?
No, I mean, like it's just, you know, it's just too powerful, man. It's just it's just too many megahertz.
Yeah. Maybe getting a little bit philosophical, but like, you know, Comtac 3s, they're obviously like a fairly old piece of equipment. They're bordering on like military surplus at this point.
5 generations old now, yeah.
Right. I think you can find them in like most surplus stores these days.
Yeah.
What's it like being, because you don't do this professionally, right? We're all self-funded. What's it like sourcing this gear and like making these little incremental upgrades?
It's definitely slow. I mean, it's not a fast process. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been shooting all my life, but I've really only been into like this space for, I don't know, maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 7. I mean, I'm 26, maybe like 6 years.
Okay.
I just made a 6-7 joke accidentally.
So nobody like hands us money to do this, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's like, hey, you will use this piece of equipment.
Yeah.
which results in kind of some funny situations. Guys are, I know you and Cole, you're often buying different pieces of equipment. You guys are trying out different configurations, different cummerbunds, different shoulder pads.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a constant refinement that's going on, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely a slow process. Like, I don't have a blank check. So, I mean, I can't buy everything at one time. I can't buy 30 of these things.
Right. So like you bought into this because you saw the value, right? It wasn't necessarily because someone told you were going to be using this piece of equipment.
And I met Austin a few years ago, and I knew about Silvuses before I even knew Austin. Like, I knew what the MANET radio was. I just knew that it was like basically like unattainable for the average person.
Yeah.
I mean, because these things are expensive. Like, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
But did they know that you work for Silvus? Can I say that? Or
yeah, I've talked about that before.
Yeah, these radios definitely aren't cheap. It definitely helps someone that works for them, does marketing with them, to either get parts or get like replacement stuff, or just like have that connection with the company. Because like buying these is, let's be honest, it's out of most average Americans' reach if you're just buying directly from the company.
Yeah.
But like Austin says, like there are surplus outlets. There are ways to get these type of radios without dropping 15 grand on a single unit, which these are useless if it's just one unit. So you got to spend at least 30 if that's the like theoretical price.
Yeah, whatever you end up optioning that. Yeah, that's a really good point, right? Like the part of the reason why I started this series and why I had the confidence to do it was I knew there was a risk, right? It's my own money, right? Even though I do work with Silvus, it was kind of like on my own venture that I decided to pursue, purchasing some surplus. But that gave me a lot of, risk aversion, or sorry, that offset my risk a little bit, to the point where like I knew I could give people a little bit more pieces of information because I had more of a safety net than the average person.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's cool that members of our group have started to buy some, and that I've gotten messages from other people who have started to buy some on the surplus market as well. So.
Yep.
Very good. Sweet. Anything else you wanted to say?
Follow at Astra Civitas on Instagram.
There you go. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, so you guys got to see a lot of the training that I do with my friends, and we're going to finish this off. This last section is going to be all going over my truck, and the truck is really important because it goes with me basically everywhere, but at least once a week, I am part of a church plant where we are renting a facility, so we don't have access to any type of Wi-Fi or infrastructure, and we need internet to facilitate some of our work. So there's a million ways we can get internet in there, but the easy button answer, I was already set up for it, is I just, run a Starlink instance out in the parking lot, and then I bring a couple StreamCasters into the building with me, and those serve internet both for the volunteer team and as a guest Wi-Fi network for people who are wanting to, follow along on the sermon notes as well. So that is the use case for this, but it also, as you're learning, these tools are extremely versatile. And so this truck gets used in a lot of different ways, and I wanted to actually push the limits a little bit of it. And so what I did was I took it out to downtown of the nearest town to me, and I was in a really congested environment, and I had to do a lot of optimization and settings tweaks in order to maximize the performance of these tools. So I wanted to show you guys that this isn't just kit theory or just me hanging out with my guys and shooting guns or whatever. I wanted to actually show like real life use of this stuff, and that's what I really try to hit on in this video. So hopefully you guys have learned a lot, and you guys are excited for that as well. So we'll get out, driver's side, come on back to the rear seat, and in the back seat here, just drop this down. And what I have installed here is a StreamCaster 4400. It's just Velcro down in there. I'll go ahead and remove the primary cable. Get this pulled out here just so you can get a better look at it. But this is the 4400, right? Is the 4x4 MIMO variant of the Silvus StreamCaster family, and it's just Velcroed in place. I didn't want a permanent installation if I ever needed to move it. I haven't had to yet, but that's some agility that I have here. And then what I have going on in here is all the ancillary stuff associated with it. I used a hole saw bit to just go ahead and drill a hole, and I passed through the antennas and some other peripherals we'll talk about here in a second. Over here, this is a PoE injector for the Starlink that goes on the roof, and this is the Ethernet cable that just comes off of the StreamCaster. So the Starlink is getting power from this, but it's also exchanging data with the StreamCaster itself. Now, it's set up for several pieces of functionality. First of all, is that this is basically like a home station for internet Starlink, right? So what do I mean by that? Remember in my first video, I talked about these past TCP/IP. Well, basically what I can do is the Starlink is going to feed the internet into here, right, through the primary cable while it's getting powered. And all the other StreamCasters that are connected via Silvus's MN-MIMO is actually going to receive the internet of the Starlink. Now, why would you do that? Why would you not just connect via Wi-Fi? Well, Wi-Fi doesn't reach very far, right? These StreamCasters can reach so much farther, and they can be man-worn, and they have way more agility than just using Wi-Fi, right? So that's the entire setup in here. The other thing I use this for is Silvus's Stream Connect. Now, Stream Connect is their VPN platform for beyond line of sight. So basically, this is programmed with a VPN on it. It's still encrypted, just like all the other connections are encrypted. And then via the internet, any other StreamCasters that have the same encryption information on it is going to be on the same network as if they were connected via, the MN-MIMO RF connection that they normally have if they're right next to each other, right? Or within line of sight of each other. So basically what that means is that any StreamCasters that are connected to this 4400 are then inside the same network as the other 4400 on the other end, right? So we're using the internet as like a tunnel to bridge two networks beyond line of sight, which is really cool functionality. Persistent Systems has a similar system known as Cloud Relay. I don't know if it's open source or if you're able to program it with your own VPN like you can with Stream Connect, but yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I also have it programmed to be a ROIP gateway as well. We already covered ROIP, but this has the functionality of doing it. It's already going to be placed somewhere with good line of sight and good elevation for my Starlink and for my connections. So this is a great candidate for ROIP as well. Now, these two devices, right, the PoE injector and the StreamCaster itself, they need power. So how do we power it? Well, here's what the power solution looks like in here. Running underneath the seat is the cable. It's just one cable that I have terminated myself with a barrel connector. It's not the prettiest job in the world, but it does work. So this is a EcoFlow Delta 2, and I also have the EcoFlow alternator charger. Now what this does is this takes power from my alternator and it just tops off this battery. I could also reverse the flow and this thing could top off my car's battery. We're not going to talk much about that. I could also interface solar with this, but this is just a really big battery. So what this allows me to do is I can just take this and I could plug it in, and I'm going to power the 4400 and the Starlink that goes up on the roof. Now, where is the antennas and where's the Starlink? Well, the antennas, it's actually only one antenna, and it is a antenna that is called a MIMO antenna. So basically all four antennas are together in this, they call it a coffee cup. But this is from Southwest Antennas. This was one of the things that they were able to hook me up with, which was very kind of them, part of how they sponsor the video. I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get the Starlink with its power and data configuration all set up, so that way you guys can see what it looks like. So check this out. My decked drawer system has a lockable container, and all I did was, for storage, because I wanted this to always be able to be as low vis as possible, I just cut a tiny little channel for these cables, and it's all coiled up and stuffed down in here when it's not in use. Coming up here, this is the GPS puck for the 4400, so I can actually pull GPS. Got all the homies on there. And then the run itself for the antenna and the Starlink is all just magnet mounted. One of these is a regular Velcro strap, but these are just magnets, so they hold in place. They can look all nice and clean when I have it all mounted up here, and it just pulls right off. So there I have the Southwest Antennas 4x4 MIMO antenna and the Starlink, and the Starlink is receiving its power via power over Ethernet, and then it just breaks out into the barrel connector for power, and also into the Ethernet connection here. So let me flip this back over. Yep, we're booting up. I'll get down from here. So come on back to in here. And as you can see, oh, it's already booted up because I got it all plugged in. But this is the PoE injector. So the PoE injector has power. It's powering the Starlink. Obviously, you just saw that. And this thing is waiting for a neighbor to connect to it, right? So it's already finished its boot sequence. You got the flashing green light. And again, that's being powered via the primary cable, and they just share a DC barrel connector. Eventually, what I will probably do is I'll probably also add a Wi-Fi router in here. Not necessarily because there's anything wrong with the one in the Starlink itself, but so that way I could have a little bit more functionality over my subnetting for, you know, the different ways I arrange my networks, and then also could do things like multi-WAN. So that's another subject entirely. Eventually there'll probably be another Wi-Fi router in here, but for now this is totally serviceable. Now, why is this mounted this way? Why is it mounted sideways? Well, number one, the primary cable comes off this way, right? So that would stab into the back of somebody sitting here. But I oriented it the other way, not facing me, for a reason I'm going to show you here in a second. Now, I promise you guys there would probably be some not so glamorous parts of this this video because this is real life, right? I use this stuff every single week for different applications, and it's not all really cool, you know, wearing full kit, assaulter gear type stuff. The reason why the 4400 is oriented the way that it is because I'm a parent. And I have to use a car seat for my kid, right? So because I have to use a car seat, that means I can't fold this seat down all the time. So how do I turn it on? Well, I'll show you. So because a kid's car seat occupies that space and it makes it difficult to fold the seat down, in order to turn it on, all I actually have to do is just reach in here with my hand, get my hand under there, and you guys can't tell, but I can feel right now I am touching and spinning the multi-position switch. Maybe you can even hear it. The multi-position switch on the 4400. So I can still turn it off and on. I haven't memorized what direction to go. It's pretty obvious though. I can still turn it on and off even when I have a kid. And why would I want to turn it off? Why not just unplug it? Well, sometimes I'm using just the Starlink, right? So the Starlink sometimes being used, it does all the software updates for the EcoFlow stuff. You know, I like to use it when I'm going through really rural areas because sometimes there's horrible cell reception and I'm listening to a podcast or a video while I'm driving long distances. And so sometimes I'm just using the Starlink. So there you go. And just so you guys can see, I have my Starlink, it's up and running, and then I can come into here into my network. And because I've assigned an IP address for it for the Stream Connect functionality, I actually do see my 4400 in here. But that is all just a local connection, right? It's either happening over Wi-Fi for the router that's in the Starlink, or obviously it's plugged in via Ethernet. I'm going to show you guys an example of actually using this configuration to distribute internet to other devices that are connected via a StreamCaster. So I'm going to put this vehicle just right over there, and I'm going to drive back home and grab my e-bike, and we'll serve some internet. Okay, so I went way farther than I thought I would, but that's okay. So we're going to go to the edge of this road. Across that major intersection there, you might see some cars drive by here soon. That is the entrance to my neighborhood, and I parked the truck with the Starlink at the far side of that neighborhood. I'll get an exact distance measurement. Maybe I'll show a map, maybe I won't, maybe I'll obscure that just for the sake of my neighborhood. But all that way, we still have a link. So over here in the management software that we actually use, Silvus StreamCasters, it's not perfect line of sight. I'm getting mostly, you know, non-line of sight propagation here. I can't show you that because that actually is proprietary data, but it's a low. It is a low connection. It could still go lower, and we would still be able to have things like voice comms. Probably couldn't do much data, but I could actually even go lower. Again, can't show you that. That's okay. What I can show you is watching a YouTube video. So I just clicked on that in real time. This wasn't cached. I hadn't clicked that and then backed out and then gone forward. It loaded that in real time. So there is, you know, part one of this video series. So that should give you guys kind of an idea of why someone might want to use you know, configuration like this, right? So if you can imagine, there's only one area, say you're working in some type of, you know, natural disaster response or something like that, and there's only one specific key location that supports Starlink. Well, if you use MANET radios, you can actually distribute the internet across multiple locations all at once. This isn't just a one-to-one connection. I could have multiple Silvus StreamCasters all connected to that 4400 and the Starlink on my truck, and they all would serve the internet. Because again, this is a pipe. This is a transport system for TCP/IP, which is the language that all network devices speak. So, oh yeah, there's the bike as well. So Shout out to my homie Rich at the Direct Action Resource Center. He helped me get this thing all set up in a way that is optimized for this kind of stuff. So help me out with parts, help me out with the paint. Shout out to Rich. Probably won't do a video on the bike anytime soon. I still have a ton of stuff to learn before I would even feel confident talking about it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little setup, and helps me demonstrate some stuff for you guys. So hop back on it, and we'll go back to my truck. Oh, real quick, I want to address something and get ahead of it because I know it's going to be a comment. Why can't I show you the dB rating that that connection was at? It is because, so every single waveform that passes data has its own chart, its MCS, right, at what level of power it can transmit a certain amount of data. Because Silvus's MMIMO is proprietary, and it was in part influenced and requested by the US government, that's why I can't show you that information. It's not because I'm trying to lie to you guys. I would, love to tell you guys all about this stuff, but again, because of the consumer base and because, DARPA was part of the development of MMIMO, I can't show you guys that. So that's a little bit of the ITAR stuff for you, just getting in front of it, because I know that's going to be a comment. This is what we'll go ahead and use as a comparative. So I got the 4400 with the MIMO antenna and the Starlink, and I just did a speed test with a 4200 going into my Toughbook, and I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there we go. We got 17 down, 10 up. So that'll be the baseline we use for today. It's probably not that great just because, I'm at a weird angle on this garage here. I don't know. Could be a million things. But here's our baseline for today, which is a great baseline. All right, guys. So here I am at 2,000 feet. So got the truck over there. I wanted to start at 2,000 feet because honestly, like anything within small arms range is just a stupid test. So yeah, right now I got 7 banks down, 2 up, and what I'm doing right now, because this is a feature that the StreamCasters can support, is I'm running a spectrum analyzer to see if I could actually find, maybe a frequency that's a little bit better for this really dense urban environment. I could do this with MANET interference avoidance, just automate it, but not everyone's going to have spectrum dominance, and so everyone will have this feature, so I'm just showing you guys real quick. I'm just going to find, make sure I'm on the most optimum channel spacing and just channel in general for having a link. And what's cool is that if I find a different one, I can set in real time that different frequency. And if I want a different bandwidth, I could do that as well. So there you are. So I could have done a wider spacing if I wanted to. But it looks like, both in terms of peak and average, looks like 2290 is a great one. So we'll try that one. So just change the settings on the distant end. And I use apply network. What's nice about that is that if it takes the settings on the distant end, it definitely took the settings on the local end. So let's come up here, basic, sweet, new frequency, just pops it all over, and there we are. And look at that, I was able to squeeze a couple more megabits per second out of this link. Yeah, so that frequency agility and the ability to run a spectrum analyzer is really cool. That's an extremely useful tool that you're only going to get with military grade radios. You won't get these with the ones at home. Okay, so I had a family thing to run to the last time we were out here doing some testing. I did some more research, and what I think was happening was, even though we had good signal to noise ratio, I think we were getting what was called inter-symbol interference. And basically what this means is that anytime you're in like a really dense urban environment, not only will the signal arrive along, a line of sight path, but especially because these are very ground wave wavelengths that we're dealing with in the, the S-band and the C-band, they reflect off of hard surfaces very well, like billiard balls. And so what'll happen is, you'll receive the signal and it's along a direct line of sight, but you will also receive a reflected signal from multiple different paths, and they essentially interfere with each other. So there are some settings in these StreamCasters that you can tweak to augment the performance and make them more resilient to inter-symbol interference. So we're going to try that out today. It's going to be basically identical setup. All right, so back out here, literally the exact same place I was testing last time, and much better results. I played with a ton of the settings, but what kind of seemed to be the magic number numbers to play with was my fragmentation threshold, making that smaller, making packets more bite-sized, and guard intervals, right? Increasing my guard intervals prevented my own signal from interfering with itself. I'm willing to bet that because the issue we were having was not in signal strength, but in intersymbol interference, that I'll be able to maintain a decent speed test the further away I get from my truck. Okay, so I am now 3,500 feet from my truck, and I picked this distance on purpose, and it is because I'm petty. So this is the exact distance where the guy that did his video on, made his own military MANET, and he was implying that it's just as good. This is the distance that he was able to get 0.001 or 1/1000th megabits per second via the internet. And I've got this all dialed in and optimized. We're now double the distance from the St. Vincent de Paul that we were at a few minutes ago. And again, did some optimization, picked the right frequency, and played with some fragmentation thresholds and our guard intervals. And we're going to run a speed test. So flip you around here. And we'll get this going. I already ran one, so I kind of know what the answer is going to be, but I'll just show you guys in real time. I didn't cheat it. So we'll let this run. It might even get a little bit faster because I've been sitting here for a while and the routing beacons have kind of figured out where the two nodes are. So we'll just give it a second, but I'll show you guys over here. I'm going to have to blur this out because I can't show you guys the signal strength in comparison to throughput. But what I can show you is that we are operating at, I'll have to blur these SNRs out, but we're at MCS4 and MCS1 on our links, which is very impressive at 4,000 feet because we're not line of sight anymore. I don't know if I pointed that out or not, but I can't see that parking garage. So this is non-line of sight. All of this is reflections off of the buildings around us in an extremely dense, populated urban center. So close out of that. There we have it, guys. At the exact same distance, Data Slayer got his 1/1000th megabits per second speed test. I got 5 megabits per second down and 1 megabit per second up. 5,000 times more data at the exact same distance as the just as good, hobby stuff out there. So me being the irresponsible person that I am, I lost track of time while I'm out here doing these tests for you guys. And I have a Zoom call that I have to hop onto. I'm filming this after the fact, but you're actually going to see a little bit of B-roll footage. I'll probably blur out, the person I'm meeting with, people I'm meeting with. But even cooler than a speed test, you guys are going to see me actually doing a Zoom call at this location.
That sounds about because they were very.
All right, so closing thoughts. This video had a lot more ramblings and vlog style media, which I didn't really plan. I kind of originally envisioned it being a lot like the first video where it was just me standing and talking in front of the camera, but I get really bored when I see media about guys just talking through their gear with no really context or use case. So wanted to make it more exciting. Also for Christmas, my wife got me a cute little Sony camera, and so that made getting media capture of this stuff actually in use a lot easier, which is kind of cool. So yeah, let me know if you guys liked this style just as much, better, worse than the last style video. And then 2 more things. One in this video is because I'm editing it right now. As we, as I was watching through all of this footage, I realized I showed a way more of my day-to-day life than I maybe intended to, or really envisioned. I don't mind. I'm a pretty open book telling you guys about my training, what I do for work, my faith. If you follow me on any other social medias, I'm a pretty open guy, which that's fine by me. It just wasn't really what I thought would happen. But with that being said, what do you guys want to see me cover on this channel? So, originally I started this series. It's not really a series, it's just 2 videos. This one's just gonna be really long, just to kind of give you guys this information. But now the channel exists and it's growing. Probably not as fast as other viral channels, but it's certainly got a lot more attention than I anticipated. So what do you guys want to see? What do you want to see me cover? You guys got a peek into a lot of my different interests. Let me know in the comments. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and excited to hear back from you guys. So till then, take it easy.